What's up, everybody? If you guys are with us right now, we're just making sure we are technologically tracking here. Trying a new system to run these live videos. Just hang with us for a second. We're on.
I guess I do not have myself set up for notifications for it. Shame on me.
Should,
I'm going to pull up the prayer line then, yeah. Yep, there we are.
right.
Notifications for it. Shame on me. I got to kill the audio or it's going to mess us up. We're trying something new, y'all. Sorry.
Yeah, just give us a second.
We're just trying to figure a couple things out because we got a special guest tonight. We want to be able to bring him in, so we're playing with a couple new pieces. So. No comments yet. I showed 2 people viewing.
Well, we will go ahead and get started, guys. It's 7 o'clock. We're lines in. Welcome back to episode 2 of this venture. For those of you that don't know, that didn't hear our last podcast, we've started a website along with this new podcast, linesinyakfishing.com. So, we'll be posting all these podcasts to the website as well if you want to view them there. But we also share tips and techniques, keep up with what's going on out on the trail, both locally and nationally on that site, and a few other nice pages that offer you some honey hole locations around here and in the West Tennessee area for you guys to go and check out. So be sure to check out the website. But we got a great show. I'm joined with my 2 co-hosts. We got Mr. Matt Skelton, Tournament Director of West Tennessee Bass Yackers and owner of Flatwater Fishing, and Mr. David Best, Operations Manager of S.Y. Wilson and Company and owner of Primary Tackle. And we got a good little show for you guys tonight. We're going to have Rus Snyders come on here in about 15 minutes, and we're going to be doing a segment on how to be a more consistent angler.
Yeah, because he's about as consistent as they can.
Yeah,
not much better.
Not only consistent, but the guy consistently wins.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I mean, there's a big difference right there. So we're gonna tune in with him and get his take on consistency, and we got a pool of questions we're gonna ask him, and hopefully gain a little bit more knowledge so we can help everybody out. That was kind of our idea. One of the ideas with this show, we want it to be informative but also educational. That way, we're giving back to the community, helping you guys out. We're helping ourselves out. We're all learning here. So, but just a little bit of topics, local topics. We had our West Tennessee Bass Yackers tournament on Beach Lake. Matt's going to break that down to us. So, Matt, take that off.
Yeah, we had a good tournament at Beach Lake. Everybody that don't know, Beach Lake's there in Lexington, Tennessee, and just about an hour and 15 minutes from here in Arlington. But it's a nice little lake, and it really produces some nice fish. We'll just start with the winner. The winner of it was Chuck Smith. He won with 53.5 inches. He was throwing a zoom speed crawl through isolated paths, all day long. That's all he did. I asked him what color it was, and he was hesitant to tell me, but he did tell me it was a brown. So that's all he said.
Not generic.
Yeah, real generic.
And we figured caught about 30 fish out of that one isolated group of pads.
Yeah, he did. He did a great job. Our partner here, Justin, he took second place with 52 inches, and I'm gonna let you tell him what you did.
Yeah, mix it up between a lipless crank bait and black bass tackle jig, tour-bound jig. I mean, they were biting everything really well, but those were my 2 top performing baits.
Yeah. And then Miss Patty Stewart, she took third with 51.5 inches. Unfortunately, we didn't catch up with her and find out why she was fishing and catching them on. But Beach Lake really showed out. There were 26 anglers there. We put up a total of 856.25 inches. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. For 3 fish, I mean.
Yeah, 3 fish average. That's what we put up. And there were 6 fish over 20 inches caught.
Wow.
With the largest one caught by Brian Knack at 22.5 inches. So
in his new Hobie 360.
In his new Hobie 360 that he just bought.
I know he was tickled.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it was a great tournament. We had a lot of fun. The weather wasn't perfect, but we had a lot of fun. We caught a lot of fish.
Yeah.
So
the lakes showed out. I mean,
I did.
You know, for its size, it's about about 1,000 acres, and it's a heavily fished lake. I mean, it's right there in Lexington, Tennessee. You know, all the locals fish. They have Thursday nighters out there, and I mean, there were multiple people that caught well over 30 fish. Granted, a lot 13-inch, 12, 13-inch size, but still, I mean, that looks good for the lake. So, you know, it's always good to see your lakes doing well, you know, and having good spawns and stuff like that. Got an Alabama Bass Kayak Nation tournament coming up on Pickwick this weekend. If you guys are interested, that'll be Saturday. I think they're going to be having the captain's meeting out of Florence. I'm not sure if it's going to be live. I know they'll be doing the check-in in the Florence area. So, you know, they've only got a few guys signed up for that right now, but if you're interested and want something to jump into this weekend, be sure and go and check them out. All of our local guys, it'll be good practice because we got, you know, the West Tennessee Bass Yackers coming up the following weekend on the 15th, and that's one of my favorites. I think we can all agree that it's always a good time to get out there and Pickwick. You just never know what you're going to get into. But David, you guys just had the Midway
Marine
Bass Fest out there, and they had the Open. So tell us a little bit about what you saw.
You know, we just had the Bass Open there that same week. So you had 250 boats there from Sunday through Friday, and then you still had the top 10 fishing on Saturday during Bass Fest. We had 140 boats at Bass Fest. So big bass boats tournament. I mean, you know, a lot of guys on the water. You got beat up pretty dang hard. But they smoked them. I mean, in the Bass Open on Thursday and Friday, they really caught them good. We caught them good in practice on Wednesday. And we caught them doing everything from up shallow, catching spawning fish, to out in 20 foot of water on bars, catching you know, post spawn bass that are already there. There's a lot of bass that Pickwick are already moving out to ledges.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of the fish we caught during the tournament. We had a rough Saturday. Not a rough Saturday. We struggled. I mean, we didn't really catch them the way as well as we did on Wednesday. We'd have had 18, 20 pounds on Wednesday easy. And then on Saturday, I broke a cardinal rule. Y'all have heard me say it 100 times before. Don't leave fish to find fish. We had 3 fish in the boat at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you know, we went about an hour without catching one, and I left fish to go look at some of the other stuff. But in my defense, we had caught fish doing other things, and we went out there and we did catch fish. We just didn't catch big enough fish. I mean, we did catch keepers in some places that we had caught some 3 and 4 pounders in practice. I mean, out in deeper water, fishing some gravel bars, fishing some, you know, sweat points, that kind of stuff. And I really think that stuff just gotten beaten up really bad during the week.
Yeah.
You know, but Joey Nania won that tournament, you know, fishing out 10, 15 foot of water, fishing stumps on the main river. So, I mean, you know, it's definitely something to kind of think about. We literally were catching our fish. I mean, all the fish I caught on Saturday were truly post-spawn fish, or pre-spawn fish. I mean, most of them still had eggs or were trying to get up there. And so there's still some pre's out there. There's a lot more posts than there are pre, I think, though. I mean, but I mean, I wish I had a GoPro on the boat Saturday, because literally in the last 5 minutes, I caught a smallie that me and my partner both watched come up and eat a spinnerbait, and literally spinnerbait from here to the television, you know, maybe 10 feet.
Yeah.
Watch that smallie come up, eat that spinnerbait. 3 cranks, it decides to jump. I said, you know what, you want to jump? You're coming on in the boat. I'm going to just pull it up and just pop him into the boat with me. So I wish I had that on camera, because it would have made a heck of a video. But you know, and caught that smallmouth. I mean, it's a 3.5 pound smallmouth. Caught it somewhere that I would have never. I mean, it was largemouth territory. That fish was confused. I think all these Bass Open guys done beat up on them so bad. We were catching them literally in somewhere that I've never caught smallmouth before in my life.
Wow.
I mean, way up in a major creek, in 2 to 4 foot of water on grass. I mean, just more like northern smallies.
Yeah,
I mean, not something we see up here,
right
down here. But so it was interesting. But the fishing's good. I mean, there was a lot of people caught fish. Took 21 pounds to win it. There was a lot of 12 to 15 pound bags for five fish. I mean, just about everybody had a good bag.
A lot of guys were, in the open. Some of the top guys were saying that they're fishing on grass. Did you see very much grass? And if you did, was it green?
Yes, there is green grass all over the lake. A lot of the open guys were fishing in that Coger Island to 7 Mile Island area.
Right.
We didn't go that far up the lake. I mean, but that is where a lot of tournaments right now are being won in that section of the lake.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the grass is. But we found grass. We found green grass as far north as Indian, which we really concentrated. We did our little triangle. We launched out of JP Coleman, so we did Indian, Grannies, Union, Panther, Bear.
Yeah.
So we stayed in that general vicinity. It's just where me and Jeff were really comfortable, and you guys know I love fishing Bear Creek. It's one of my favorite sections.
There's a lot to fish there.
There's a lot to fish there. That's the beauty of it. You can fish anything from shallow water in the back to, there were 3 boats in Bass Fest that literally stopped on ledges in the mouth of Bear Creek first thing that morning. You can do anything there. So, I know what they were fishing there. There's some brush piles out there on those ledges in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were out there drop shotting or throwing a big crankbait or something along that line.
The guy that won the Open, he didn't mention it, but I have a strong feeling he was using live scope. It's been the big deal lately. Because, fished a real shallow, targeting stumps, and he was making accurate casts right past the stumps or on top of them. Yeah. That's got live scope all over. Or 360.
And I know.
360 might could have been that.
Yeah, and I know, I had several friends that fished as co-anglers. Matter of fact, MJ, Michael Jordan, for those of y'all that know him, placed not that Michael Jordan.
He played baseball too.
He placed 8th or 9th on the co-angler side, and that a lot of those guys said that there were guys out there. Their boaters were using live scope. Several of them were, and and I talked to a few other guys in Bass Fest that fished with guys that were using live scope during the tournament. So. It's normal. That's getting to be a big thing.
It's part of it. But you're seeing like a mixture of guys that really like it and some guys, that don't. I'm even seeing some come up for sale. It's all personal preference. That's the beauty of fishing. But
video game fishing.
Yeah.
It's a video game. It's no longer fishing when you do that. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go there.
Sometimes it works. That's good. I think both of these upcoming tournaments on Pickwick will be good. It always takes a good bag to win out there. 15th and 16th is the Hobie Bass Open event on Lake Hartwell. Last year, I think Kurt Smits won that one. And a lot of fish caught that time of year. I imagine this year it's going to be just as good, if not better. And then, the one after that, the one that, I'm looking forward to, David. Matt, are you going to get to go?
Or? No, I'm not going to go.
We're going to pull your leg. We're going to pull your leg until time.
You're going.
We'll see.
Yeah, you just don't know it. We've already got him a place at the Airbnb. But
we're going to kidnap him.
But yeah, so Sam Rayburn coming up the first weekend of June. Really looking forward to that one. I haven't been there before. It's a massive lake, and so
you do a little everything.
Yeah, might have to lean on you a little bit there since you got a little bit of lake experience.
I do. I love that place. I haven't got as much experience there as I need. I'm gonna try to go down there between now and then, once at least, just for a couple of days.
It's gonna be a tough one for me to get down there beforehand. But I'm gonna be there Wednesday through, so give them this one some time. But well, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about what we have in stock. We're running this on a new system this go around, so we don't have the commercials to break for just yet. So David's going to talk a little bit about what he's got in primary and S.Y. Wilson as far as the kayaks and tackle and all that goes. So,
all right. So we got one of the best selections of rods and reels that we've had in a long time. So if you need a new rod and reel, it's a great time to come get it. Kayaks were lacking a little bit in. So, but if you want a kayak, you better come get it soon. I literally think we will be out sometime this month. So entirely.
It's crazy.
It's as insane as that may sound.
It's crazy.
If we have more than 5 boats for half of this month, I will be surprised. So I do have a few more boats coming at the end of the month, but very, very few. I've had to beg and plead and cajole and do everything I can, but we're not going to have much, but we will have a little bit. Great selection of parts right now. Great selection kayak parts. Got more coming. Just got a couple of confirmations on some orders coming in. Line's in good shape. Tackle's in good shape in the tackle shop, so we're in good shape there. Got a lot of new stuff. A lot of new hook clothing that's coming in on the SY side. We got some free fly stuff coming in from the SY side. If you haven't seen that, ultra lightweight clothing, quick dry, but really cool. UV.
You got another order of Dakota Lithium coming in.
Got another order of Dakota Lithium coming in. I just had a new order coming in with 10 amp hours and the power boxes, and then I have some 54s and some 100s coming at the end of the month. I have hopefully some more 18s and 23s coming at the end of the month. The 18 right there on the end of the table next to Matt is the one I use in my boat. Plenty of power, run lights, graphs, side scan, everything you want to do. Plug in your GoPros, all that kind of thing. Fits nice in a Hobie cradle, but it's a good size battery. We got 23 amp hours that we usually carry. The 54s I got a bunch of the 54s that the bass boat guys want. I mean, they're even putting those in there to run their live scopes and that kind of stuff now. So it's just a nice lightweight battery that you can have out there and last all day.
Man, they last a long time. Even the 3 10 amp hours I have in my boat, I mean, running the power pole, my Garmin with the whole Neiman network, GoPro 360 light. I mean, I could probably run it 2 or 3 days, off those 3. So I mean, it's a great investment, guys. If you're looking to change out your battery, I definitely recommend Dakota. But is that it? We got some. You got a 360 up here. You need to sell. No, that's for sure.
I got a 360 PA12. How in the heck that thing has managed to last this long up here, I do not know.
There have been a few of you guys that have said something to me about a Hobie 12.
Yeah,
so
I have a 12. I have
it.
a 12 180 Dune, and I have a 360 12 with the in the seagrass or the green camo. So
okay.
You know who you are, guys. You better call them.
Yeah, I mean, look, these things when they go, we are looking at right now for PA14s and PA12s and compasses and everything that we have coming in. We're looking at July, August getting it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, right now, if you don't have your name on one of them, you probably ain't getting one.
Yeah.
Because literally, I only have 19 more boats coming for the year. And I've got half of those have names on them. So if you want a boat, you better freaking get your name on it.
Wow. It's crazy.
So
thanks, COVID. But, well, guys, we're going to have Rus Snyders join us here in just a minute. Just want to give a quick reminder. We got our giveaway that we're doing. We got the Lose American Hero reel, toadfish, 3 bags by Toadfish, and then all the primary tackle goodies that David's throwing in. So we'll be doing a random comment drawer. Again, you had to like and share the post, comment with 2 of your buddies, and just a memorable moment that you had. So, we had quite a few guys jump in and gals. So we appreciate everybody showing the love and joining in on that giveaway. So at the end of this video, after we get done talking to Russ, we'll draw our winner and announce that. And then whoever the winner is, we'll get in touch with you and work out shipping if we have to, or if you're local and all that. So,
and y'all did a great job on doing that this go round. We're right at 500 viewers now, so that's good. But we definitely need to step that up and get it a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and throw a teaser out there. Not next show, but 2 shows from now, maybe when we get back from Rayburn, we might do something a little bit bigger. So I got an idea.
Okay.
So
There you have it.
Yeah, that's
So,
you guys.
I mean,
we don't
you know.
even know.
Sounds like a kayak giveaway.
I said bigger. I didn't say ridiculous. So, but I got an idea. We got a buddy that I might lean on a little bit, and I think I got a good idea for a really, really good giveaway. So
Sweet.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, for those of you that don't know Russ, we're about to get him on here. Send him a text now. Let him go ahead and join in. But if you've been living under a rock, man, Russ is the man. He's an extremely very accomplished angler in the kayak industry, to say the least. Got some stats here on him as we wait on him to join. This probably is off a little bit. This comes off of Tourney X. Total tournaments 88. First place finishes 25. Second place finishes 7. Here he goes. We got Russ. Russ, what's up, man?
Hey,
What's
buddy.
up, Justin? Hey guys, how's it going?
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I hear you great. How about me?
All right. Let's see.
I'm gonna get my camera angle here. How's that?
Okay, we got you on here now. Having a little difficulty. Let me turn my volume up a little bit. All right. I think we got it sorted out, man. We're looking good so far.
Awesome.
All right, well, man, if you haven't met, this is Matt Skelton, Dave Best.
how you doing?
So, man, we're happy to have you on to talk to you about this topic of consistency. For those of you that don't know Russ, like I was saying, the guys, it's astounding, man, what you've accomplished in this industry. I know this is probably off just reading a few stats about you. You got 25 first place finishes, second place 7, third place 8 finishes, top 10 finishes 64 out of 88 total tournaments that you fished. That's coming off Tourney X. So if that's off a little bit, I apologize. But most recently, just come off of a win, Lake Eufaula for the Bass Nation Kayak Series event. That was this past weekend. Won that one. KBF 10 season opener there, another win. And just an incredible resume, man. It's really mind-boggling what you're able to accomplish out there on the water. But
It's been a crazy couple of years for sure.
yeah, to say the least. We all been spectators, just with our mouths dropped, man. It's awesome. But dude, tell us a little bit about yourself. Just your background, how you got into fishing, and how you got into kayak fishing, man.
Yeah, well, let's see. I grew up in Northern California. Fished a lot of the lakes up there and some ocean fishing stuff. Fished, all kinds of stuff. Did some trout fishing growing up, saltwater. Probably at like 16, I started getting to bass fishing and bass tournaments, and competed a little while in a bass boat. And then by the time I was maybe 24, 25, I kind of transitioned to doing some guiding out of the boat. And by the time I was 30, I moved out here. I'm 38 now, so it's about 8 years ago. Moved out to Nashville. A couple friends of mine that I grew up with moved out here about a year before me, so it's just a good opportunity to move to a different part of the country, try something new. And I know there's a lot of good fishing out here, and Tennessee especially is kind of a central hub where it's easy to travel from anywhere in this part of the country. And with all the good fishing out here, it's definitely a move I'm happy I made. And let's say just got into when I first moved out here. Still had my boat. I spent 1 year doing some BFL tournaments, but then just kind of took a break from that and spent a lot of time fishing a lot of the creeks and rivers and stuff around Middle Tennessee out of kick boats or pontoon boats.
Okay.
And through that, and through the fact that I didn't really know too many people out here, I eventually found myself on the different Facebook pages and stuff for people who are fishing these rivers, which were all kayak fishermen, more or less. And from that, I saw the tournaments. So I was like, hey, I haven't done tournaments in a while. Thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of, get back in the competitive side of things, and at the same time, just kind of meet people around the area that I could, eventually make friends with and fish with.
Yeah.
from that, I kind of started just locally in our local club, KBF-TN, Kayak Bass Fishing, Tennessee. We have some great guys in there at the time. Craig Guy was our tournament director, and we got Adam Reiser and Josh Sharp and Josh Stewart, and a lot of guys that kind of travel a little bit more and do some of the national stuff. So through that, developed a lot of friendships and moved on more to the kind of the national scene where me and some of those guys travel around and fish all these tournaments, and it's been a lot of fun.
Man, that's awesome. So do you do this full time now? Are you a full time angler, or do you?
I have a power washing business, which I've been doing pretty much since I was probably 18 or so, 19. Where I power wash decks and fences and restain it and seal them, and power wash houses and a lot of like stone aggregate driveways and seal those and stuff. And I've been doing that for a while. And when I was younger, I had a few employees and stuff. But once I moved out here, just tried to keep it simple and just keep my life simple in general. Try to keep my expenses down and just have. Just kind of simplify things. So it's just me. I can kind of turn on the business on and off when I want. And over the years, I've kind of developed clients. At this point, I'm still doing jobs kind of here and there between tournaments, but I'm not really pushing the advertising or anything.
Right.
Kind of picking and choosing jobs between tournaments just to make some extra money.
Based on financial need.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm sure you've been pretty self-sufficient off this, man. You've done really well. So you had a bass boat for sale for a while. Did you ever sell it? I just saw it. Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
I feel bad because after the guy bought it, probably because it'd been sitting so long. I had it for a couple of years and didn't even use it, and put a bunch of fuel stabilizer and all that in it. But probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 trips after he used it, he ended up blowing the motor actually. Which I felt bad. I actually gave him a couple $1,000s back because I know what it's like to be a boat owner. I've been a boat owner for a long time, and just the money that I've done, it's just like a never-ending money pit that you just.
It is. Yeah. It's one thing I don't miss about my old Ranger.
Yeah, I don't miss it one bit. I was a little bit sad for like maybe a couple hours, like after it left, just think about all the memories in it and stuff like that. And it didn't take me too long to get over it. And once that guy called back, I was like, oh man, I felt really bad. So I sucks. I knew I had to give him, at least some money back to help. But at the same time, that was definitely a feeling of knowing that I made the right decision, because it's just never ending with those boats. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's like always like a month after you sell a boat or anything, you got that thought like, man, they're gonna call me up and say this thing sucks.
Sure enough, it was good. I spent I spent a lot of money on that thing, just even while it was just sitting there. I got my fair share of use at it and beat it up pretty good as far, cosmetically. It's pretty beat up, but I spent a lot of money and time doing the carpet and the seats and the gel coat and all that. And still, I should have just sold it as it was, but I kept up on it, as far as mechanical stuff, and even then, the dang motor blows. So
that happens, man. Well, dude, you just came off that You Follow Win. We're talking about consistency tonight. We touched on that. Oh, and by the way, I think I mentioned to you in the message, but we got a big train that rolls through every once in a while, and it's literally right outside the wall here. So if it comes through, it cuts you off, man. I apologize. We'll just keep rolling through, but
no worries. I can warn you.
Yeah, you'll hear it, but well, man, you answered my first question about how you got into kayak fishing and all that. For most anglers, consistency kind of starts, or at least my thought is consistency starts at the house. Your preparation, for tournaments and all that kind of stuff. Just what are some key steps you take in your prep that you feel directly affect your success on the water? And if we ask you anything you don't want to answer, man, you just say uncle, and we'll move on to the next one.
No problem. But I'm a big believer in doing a lot of prep off the water. Definitely consider myself like very organized. I think things through, very detailed oriented person. All my tackle and stuff is extremely organized, and A lot of that just takes time too. You know, I've been living in the same house for like 8 years, so I just got my garage just like all dialed in the way I want, and then, you know, in the process of thinking about moving and stuff, and then part of me is like, man, it's gonna be a whole. It takes so long just to get everything like the way you want it, and just have, you know, there's something to be said for just being really organized and being everything, you know, being kind of stable and simple in your life in order to really focus on the task at hand with these tournaments and the fishing and stuff like that. Also, you know, try to take good care of myself. I eat good, I exercise, and I try to get good sleep. I don't get good sleep during the times I'm through fishing, but as soon as I get home, I definitely make it a priority to try to catch up on sleep and just take care of myself. So, you know, fishing's a big part of it's just like a mental sport, and just being able to stay sharp and to be clear-headed and make those good decisions. You know, a lot of that comes down to just take care of yourself and giving yourself good energy when you're out in the water. And I always eat breakfast before I go out. And always, even when I was younger, I would never eat while I was fishing, but now I'd make it a point to try to get some energy, some fuel in me as I'm out up there on the water, and stay hydrated so I'm not getting headaches and all that. So that really makes a big difference, I feel.
So I mean, you just really embrace the whole package. I mean, you put thought into everything, you know, from start to finish. I mean, it's pretty detailed. Yeah,
I even do a lot of yoga, to be honest, just because just from fishing and power washing all the time. I always found myself, you know, for years my back was just getting tight. It was hard for me to turn and twist and move around. So I'm not doing that. I do yoga like once a week, and I couldn't tell you. I mean, I've tried to get other people to do it, and I've talked to so many kayak anglers and guys that have back problems and stuff. Just being able to stretch out like that and just be able to move around, especially on a kayak, just all the tight quarters and the twisting and the turning that you're doing. You know, having your back and your body feeling good really helps.
Yeah, it's just all right here in your core and your back. I mean, your legs are kind of out of the question for the most part, unless you're pedaling all day.
Yeah.
But so you know, actually speaking on, you know, kayaks and pedaling, you recently got into a hobby, but you still fish out of your Wilderness Attack 122.
Yeah, I'm fishing both. I haven't signed on with a team or anything like that. Just wanted to kind of have the freedom to not really necessarily like limit myself. I wanted to have you know, the options of there's pros and cons of both. I wanted to learn what it's like, you know, running a Hobie. I know for these Hobie tournaments, especially when you can't use a motor, in my mind, it's probably the best available option is running a Hobie, and they make the best pedal drive jack, I think, right now. And I used it for the first tournament. The first tournament I used it was just recently at Lake Dardanelle, and really enjoyed it, and covered a bunch of water, and just getting used to the 360 and just the maneuverability of. It's pretty amazing, just the fact you can just turn on a dime, like just literally sit in one spot and pretty much like turn, you know, 180 degrees to the other side, and especially for, you know, fishing around docks and bushes and lay downs and when you get hung up. So really like that, but at the same time, this recent tournament, you follow the Bassmaster. I just got a new 1103 Torpedo, which I got, you know, just before the tournament. I've been pretty busy, so I didn't have time to hook it up. And thankfully, Jeff Little was somewhat in the area to drive a few hours out. And just called him. You know, we had some filming what we were doing right after the tournament, so kind of let him know the situation. He was nice enough to drive out and help me rig that all up, and did a great job doing that. And I've been super impressed with that 1103. Really, really happy with it. And just having that 1103 with the foot control steering is, especially with power fishing, like I don't think there's anything better than having a motor with foot control steering with a motor at the back. I take that over, you know, any of the bow mounts or anything like that. I feel like that's really the way to go, just because it's completely hands-free. I have the throttle at my hip, and I use my elbow to push the throttle forward and back. And I never take my hands off the rod and reel, and I can turn myself and adjust at any moment. So, so that really helped out in that tournament.
Yeah, we saw the video that Jeff Little put up of you doing 6 miles an hour down that creek or wherever you were, just slinging that buzzbait. And I mean, when he said that y'all were doing 6, you looked over, it didn't even look like you knew you were going that fast.
I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't have my fish finder. I didn't look at my throttle there. I didn't realize it was right there. I guess I usually always look at my fish finder to see the speed. But yeah, a lot of times that's what's great about having when you have a motor like that, and you can steer with your feet. Like in a Hobie, there's no way I can go 6 miles an hour and like cast the targets because I'm always having to take my hands off the reel and adjust the rudder and stuff. So you just can't fish as fast. At the same time, it's great for if you're going to fish slow or you're going to flip bushes or fish docks like shaky head and stuff. It's hard to beat that. But if you really wanted to fly down the bank and make casts, and a lot of times I do that, especially on a bass boat, you can fish one bank and then say, okay, you can tell the next several hundred yards aren't really what you're looking for. So you just skip it and run to another section of the lake. Well, in the kayak, you can't really do that. So I might fish a little area. I might be on a pattern or I'm fishing a little, whatever type of stretch. And then I want to get to the next spot like that. That next spot might be half a mile away. So I'll just run the motor. And at the same time, you never know. Like you might as well, if you're able to run the motor and, make a cast at some of the juicy looking targets, especially the buzz jet. It's probably one of the easiest lures to really fly down the bank and cast and hit some targets, because 90% of the time on a buzzbait, that hit's going to come like 2 or 3 seconds after you hit the target. You see the ambush point, you throw it right past it, and it's just a couple cranks of the reel, and all of a sudden they hit it. If you throw it at the right end, the key is if you're going to move that fast, you don't want to cast directly in front of you, otherwise you can't keep up with the reeling, and you don't want to cast too much at the side, otherwise the lure's going to be behind you. So you really got to hit that, kind of position yourself where you can hit that 45-degree angle and be able to hit those targets where you could still catch up with it and get a hook set, but it's still not going to drift too far behind you.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. I mean, that was going to be a question I asked, is if you fish that fast, pretty regularly. You're flying.
Like I said, if I'm really trying to, there's times I do fish that fast pre-fishing where I know that I don't really want to fish this bank. I'm going to jump way up there, but if I'm not, unless sometimes I spend that time retying or eating, but if I'm not doing that, I'm just, I'm going to make a few casts, and I've caught fish on those banks that don't look good, where it's like, this doesn't look like a good bank, but sometimes it'll surprise you. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, kind of talking about practice a little bit. You typically see, hear guys talk about a few different, approaches to practice. Some anglers spend a lot of time, looking around and, and fishing to try to get a gauge. They might want to catch a few, and then others, like to put together a limit, in their practice to get a good gauge of an area. So, do you utilize either of those approaches, or kind of what's your take on practice?
In general, just for like this.
Like when you're trying to gauge, when you're preparing for a tournament, how do you gauge an area, like when you're trying to decide where you're going to go?
There's a lot of factors that come into play, and I always try to get a realistic view of like what that area, after fishing it, what it's capable of, or how much pressure an area is going to get. The area I fished in the Sioux Falls tournament, or I ended up fishing a tournament, was a very, very popular place in the lake. It was where all the tournaments were out of and all the fish were released. And when I was pre-fishing, I knew there wasn't a lot of people there, but I knew come tournament day it was going to be packed full of people. So things like that, there's just a lot of factors, and so you got to find. Most times I like to find multiple, areas to fish. I try to fish as many different areas as I can, and I'll have definitely backup spots. Like this place I fished last weekend didn't work. I had a backup spot upriver, and and it's a lot of times it's hard. I hook a lot of fish. I hook more fish than I feel like most people do. Sometimes that kind of burns me. I know at Lake Dardanelle, I've done it a couple times, 2 times in a row. This year and last year, where I feel like I hooked too many fish pre-fishing. There were small kind of backwater areas that weren't reloading, but at the same time, I always really like to see the size of the fish in an area, and Sometimes I'll keep catching them until I catch that big one. Because you might be catching fish, but they're only like 14, 15 inches. I've got to see more reason for me to stay there, you know.
Right.
But sometimes it sucks because you catch, 10 of them, and they, 14, 15, I see another 17, you're like, all right, maybe. And then all of a sudden you catch like a 21, you're like, oh, all right, I'm definitely going to fish here. I wish I didn't catch all those fish. That happened to me twice in a row at Dardanelle.
Yeah, sometimes those big fish, they can kind of throw you off. A guy did a video, or he was talking about this topic not too long ago, and he was talking about how, those are kind of like tricky fish. They trick you into thinking that that's the pattern you need to be throwing, need to be fishing, when in fact they were just that one random fish sitting on the edge of that dock, positioned the right way, and but that really just wasn't the deal. But yeah.
Bass fishing, tournament fishing, it's all about just getting those clues throughout the day and trying to make the most of those clues. But sometimes you get it, it'll trick you. You'll catch a fish on a certain lure, and it'll trick you into thinking that that's what you need to be doing. Like you said, and you'll go the rest of the day doing that, and it doesn't work. And you're like, man, that dang fish, I wish I never caught it in the first place. I ended up doing something different.
Yeah, that happened to me at Dardanelle. I caught like a 6-pounder in practice, and it was up shallow bedding, and that really threw me off because the next day they dropped the water like crazy.
For everybody though, I've talked to a lot of people who were just crushing it. It was such good fishing I was so excited for that tournament because it was so much fun pre-fishing for a few days. It's like everywhere I was going, it's just like throwing reaction baits, covering water, and it's like everything I switched to, I was catching fish on them, and they dropped that water a lot of places. I said Dardanelle reminds me a lot of Old Hickory, and the same thing happens there. When they drop that water, it fluctuates, a couple feet, but you hit it once they drop that water, those fish just push off those ambush points and those feeding areas, and they're so hard to catch, and it just makes it really tough.
Well, the river is
surprised, even with how tough it was amazing to see how many limits there were. I only caught 8. I got a good finish and I got a check, but I only caught, I think, 8 fish the first day and like 6 fish the second day, or 7 fish maybe the second day. I barely caught a limit each day.
Wow.
And there was more limits in that tournament than like any other tournament I've fished maybe. So I would have loved to see what it would have been really impressive if they kept that water up, or if that tournament was like Thursday, Friday. It would have been unreal.
Yeah,
there would have been a lot of 90-inch limits, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many fish up in those like that 2 foot and less backwater areas that were getting up there on beds, spawning, doing their thing, and then when it dropped them, it just dried those areas out. I mean,
they left those beds even in that cool weather, even pre-fishing. The water was up, but the weather was cool, and they were still up there. And I found all kinds of beds. And sure enough, tournament day is just, they were gone.
Yeah. Well, how many days do you like to give yourself in practice typically? What's your comfort zone? I know you showed up to what was it, Lake Seminole, like a half a day of practice.
Yeah, that was half a day. That's because I had the 10 in Florida.
Yeah.
But typically that was a rarity. But typically, for our club tournament, I'll do our club tournaments. I won't even pre-fish sometimes. For some of the smaller ones, I'll just show up and fish. But for the Hobies or KBS or Bassmaster, ones I'm traveling to, I'd say on average I get 3 days, or maybe like 2.5, and sometimes I'll get up to 4, and sometimes 2. I think this last tournament, Eufaula, I got there Wednesday at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. So I fished an hour and a half in the evening, and had a full day on Thursday, and Friday we had to get off the water at 2 o'clock. So I don't even really consider that a full day. But that's how much time I had at that one.
So Bass, BASS, they cut off their time at 2 o'clock on Friday?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, some of the other ones are 4. So I think some of the KBFs, you can fish as late as you want. Sometimes they'll have like those 3-day challenge, the weekend challenges, the one-night stands, or stuff like that. So people don't be pre-fish. Yeah, they don't cut off pre-fish. I think Hobie's 4 o'clock though.
So you would say power fishing is kind of your deal, something you that's kind of what you consider yourself mostly.
Yeah, definitely. I could do some finesse fishing and use my electronics, but I haven't. I feel like if you're really going to if you're going to be a good finesse fisherman or deep water fisherman, the name of the game is just really staying on top of your electronics game. And
Yeah.
it's just a lot of work to always be getting new fish, finding new equipment. I can do it, but it's hard to. If that's what you're doing, it's just hard to compete with guys that are using Panoptics, for example, or
I agree.
just
Especially on these boats. I mean, you're limited in size and where you can put stuff,
Yeah.
So
I feel pretty strong about just my casting and cover water and recognizing ambush points and just realize, reading the water and feeling like having assortment of different shallow water baits, whether spinner baits or chatter baits or flipping or flukes or all that stuff. I feel pretty comfortable with, and if one thing isn't working, I feel like I know the adjustments to make. And if I'm fishing deep water, I could fish deep water stuff, but I feel like immediately I'm putting myself at more of a disadvantage. I feel like from the get-go, not that I can't catch them, not that I haven't fished out deep and cash checks, but whenever I have the opportunity to do shallow power fishing, I feel like I'm putting myself in a little bit of an advantage.
So you're a kayak John Cox who will pick up a crankbait if he has to.
Exactly. I feel like my fishing style is probably pretty similar to John Cox.
Yeah.
Man. Greg Hackney, maybe.
Yeah, he's a hammer. Well, you were just talking about it, making adjustments. I mean, that's the bread and butter of being consistent. When you're out in the water, understanding those adjustments you have to make, having the confidence to make them. In your style of fishing, what kind of adjustments do you typically see yourself having to make? Like big adjustments, or are they just more of fine tuning? And I know it's situational, but
yeah, it can be both. A lot of times, some of the small adjustments I do is just colors or trailers on my plastics as I'm flipping, or throwing a swim jig or a number of things. I'll start off in the morning. I'll never get locked in on a color. Like when I'm pre-fishing, it's more I'm curious about the weight or the fall or the type of trailer profile, more so than colors. Always kind of secondary. I feel like colors always just in the moment,
right.
Whatever the conditions, whether the sun's out or basically just it all comes down to light levels, where it's low light or bright skies or water clarity. And I feel like I can just look at the water or the sky conditions and get a good feel of what color plastic. And it's not always so much the color, it's just more the profile, how much it blends in with the water, or how much you need it to stand out. When it's really low light or dirty water, you want it to stand out as much as possible. I'm going to use like a black and blue or black. And other times when the sun starts coming out throughout the day and the water starts clearing up and use that black and it just stands out too much, then I'm going to start lightening up to more of a green pumpkin or somewhere in between. So it gets really, really clear. I'll use something like a watermelon. Sometimes same thing for I guess using skirts or not. I'm a firm believer in if it's dirty water and I'm flipping a bait, I'll use something like a skirt. And if it's really clear water, I won't use a skirt. And when it comes to certain water clarity, where I just feel like, as far as flipping baits, I'll use whether I use a skirt or not, or the colors. So as far as other adjustments, knowing when to switch lures, a lot of it's just time on the water and experience, just kind of going with what your gut's telling you.
Yeah. A lot of lakes that we fish, on the Hobie series and the BASS kayak stuff. A lot of lakes that that you visited, do you have previous experience there from fishing out of a bass boat, stuff like that? Have you seen these lakes multiple times?
No, except for like Clear Lake out in California when I went out west.
Okay.
When I had my bass boat, I only used my bass boat barely, just for like a year or so out here, and then I was pretty much doing just all the rivers with my big boats and stuff. So pretty much just out west. And like I say, out here, I fish Kentucky Lake a little bit in my bass boat, and Old Hickory and Percy Priest, maybe once or twice at Gunnersville, and that's about it, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, like, do you like, during tournaments, do you make moves from one ramp to another quite often, or are you the type to kind of grind it out in one area?
I will move to another ramp, but I think more times than not, that's what kayak fishing really taught me, is you don't have to fly. More times than not, it's not that your area isn't good, it's just you're using the wrong presentation, and they're still there. You just have to adjust. I think when I had my bass boat, I just never recognized that. I'll catch them in one area on a certain bait, and I'll catch them really good. And throughout pre-fish, maybe I found another area where I caught them on that bait, or I found another area where I caught them on something different.
Yeah.
So let's say the primary area that I had the most confidence going into it, I'd fish it, and I'd use that one bait that I caught them on, pre-fishing, and it doesn't work. But instead of just sticking it out there and say, hey, this area has a population of fish, I'd run all the way across the lake and try that same pattern at a different area, and then, surprise, surprise, it doesn't work there either. And
Yeah.
and then and then you just start running around like a chicken with your head cut off. I did it a lot, and kayak fishing really, really made me realize that you don't have to do that. You're better off just sticking in that area and trying to keep a clear head and not get too wrapped up in how you were catching them, and just kind of read the water and the conditions and trying to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast that you did, I think last year. It was I think you win the Mississippi River up in La Crosse last year?
The Hobie, yeah.
Hobie, yeah. And you were on a podcast then. You were talking about rate of fall and how critical it was for you to get those bites in that situation due to rate of fall. And there was another guy fishing in the same area, and he wasn't getting as many bites as you. When you're flipping, I love flipping and pitching. Is that something that you will tinker with quite a bit when you're flipping and pitching till you get it down, or will you get a bite and be like, okay, that's good?
Yeah, like I said, more so the color, I just kind of dictate whatever I always have confidence. I never really feel like, oh, I'm just throwing the wrong color. I'm not too worried about that, because I just kind of look at the water or the skies and say it's more so than the color, just about the silhouette of it, how much it stands out, and I can usually have a good idea of where that needs to be. But what's more important really is rate of fall or profile of the bait, whether you want something big and bulky, whether it falls fast or falls slow, or that's really what they dial into. And I'll switch that a lot. And if I'm flipping a certain bait, even during a tournament, and it's not working, I'll make those adjustments too. And it changes when somebody's saying, oh, they're flipping a half-ounce creature bait. If they're using something like a little ultra vibe speed craw with a half-ounce compared to like a spicy beer or a striking rage craw, it's going to have a totally different rate of fall. So if one person's saying, oh, I'm flipping a half-ounce creature bait, it's you can go out there and try to do the same thing, all of a sudden it doesn't work at all, and it's more just because that rate of fall maybe is too slow. So if I'm using a half-ounce with something really big like a rage craw, but I want to use something with the same rate of fall but smaller profile, then I'll go like a 3/8 or 5/16 on a ultra vibe speed craw.
I got you.
Hey Russ, I'm going to interject here, because that is one of the biggest things I've had trouble with, and these guys know. I've switched over. I've been a tournament bass boat guy for 30 years, so I switched over less than a year ago to kayak fishing, and I've been fishing these Hobie events. And the biggest struggle I have right now, I was at Broken Bow, I was on the right set of fish. At Dardanelle, I was on a good set of fish, and I'm struggling with dragging plastics and putting fish in the boat. What kind of setup are you using as far as when you do flip? What kind of hook are you using? Any hints you can give me there?
Yeah, I use a bobber stop If the water is dirty or stained, so I'll use a punch skirt. If it's clear, then I won't use a skirt. I'll just use the plastic only. And I mean, I use anything from an 1/8 ounce, pretty rare an 1/8, but probably, you know, 1/4 to 2 ounce at the heaviest. And it just depends on what I'm flipping and the time of year and whether I want more of a reaction strike. Like maybe early in the year when the water is colder, more times than not, I'm going to want a really, really slow fall. So fishing around wood or something like that, you know, you can have a really slow fall. But if you're fishing grass or something where you need to punch through it, you know, I'm going to use as light of a weight as I can that will still get through the cover efficiently. And but as it comes more into summertime, you know, that same piece of wood or lay down that early in the year when the water's cold, I might use something light. Even if I can fish something light through the cover, sometimes something really heavy that just, you know, I'll put a 1 ounce weight on and flip it all around lay downs and knock it around in there like crazy. And it's that fast reaction. Sometimes that's what they want, you know? So it's just about switching it up a lot. And even when I catch fish on a certain, say I'm using a 1/4 ounce or 3/8 or something, and I'm catching a few fish on it, and I feel like that's the right one, and I'm like, all right, well, let's see what happens if I switch to a 1/2 or 3/4. And just that even if I know that one's working, I want to, you know, kind of go to the opposite spectrum and see if, you know, if that works. And if it doesn't, then I know that I've got it dialed in. If it does, then I'm thinking, you know, all right, well, maybe rate of fall doesn't even really matter at this point. But, there's a lot of times where I find something where I get, you know, pre-fishing where I have confidence in it. And a lot of times I just switch baits just because if I want to keep fishing an area, I don't want fish to see that bait. You know, I put it in the back of my mind like, okay, this works right now, and I'll show them something different. Just because you can learn more from it rather than just keep catching fish on the same bait that you know it works. You know, try to use things then that maybe, okay, this might work, this might not, but at least if I use it, I'm gonna.
We lost you there for a second, but I think we got you back.
You good? Oh, yeah, we got you now. Sweet.
Okay. Did you guys lose any of that? You get most of it?
I think we did.
Yeah. I guess this little bit of rain we're getting.
We're having a pretty good little thunderstorm out here right now.
So. Yeah. What part? You're in West Tennessee, right?
Yeah, we're just outside of Memphis in Arlington.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here in Nashville. It's been coming down pretty good. I just got in last night. I heard it was some big storms the last few days.
Oh, yeah, man. I think we got more coming, too.
Yeah, we do.
Man, you made a... I want to wrap... got a few more minutes, but we want to give you the opportunity. You got a new signature series rod coming out from iRod. Yeah, and you're looking for a name for it, too, aren't you?
Yeah, okay. I announced I was talking to Ryan and the guys down at KBN, Kayak Bass Nation, last night on the podcast, and announced that it's been in the works for a while. It's a rod that's going to be designed for covering a lot of water and power fishing, pretty much. Mostly making long casts with lighter lures, whether it's, you know, making long casts with a chatterbait out on grass flats or a swing head out on grass flats. It'll be good for that. It'll be really good for throwing top water, like a small top water for busting fish when you really want to make a long cast. It's going to have some oversized guides. It'll be good for using braid with a fluorocarbon leader. And the name of it was going to be, because of all that, I thought, you know, the Reacher, just because you want to make long casts. And so I was going to call it Russ's Reacher, but then, you know, Brian was kind of giving me crap about it. And, you know, his mind was going in the wrong place maybe. But, so I thought about it. I'm like, man, I don't want to. Yeah, I called up Matt from iRod and I told him, like, man, every time I'm going to talk about this rod, somebody's going to be giving me shit about it, and it's not going to be fun. So he said, all right, well, there's time to change the name still. So I did a little contest there on Kayak Bass Nation. Told everybody, hey, whoever comes up with the best name, you know, win a rod and 10 of my hand-tied swim jigs. So Peter Yang out of California Actually, I got a chance to meet over the summer when I was there for the Hobie event. I got to meet him, and we've been chatting since. And so yeah, he came up with Snyder's Sniper.
Sniper.
I like
Nice.
that.
Yeah, so that's what it's going to be called. It's going to be called the Snyder's Sniper. It's going to be out in a couple months, and really excited about it. I got one of the prototypes right now. Been using it, been really liking it. Awesome rod especially for like chatterbait and stuff.
Yeah.
It's light enough where you can even cast like a fluke or belly weighted fluke, something like that. It sells a nice light tip and has a lot of backbone, and you'll be able to cover pick up a lot of slack on those hook sets for those long casts. So
Yeah. What length was it? Did you say?
it's a 7'5". It's kind of
Okay.
like a lighter medium heavy, somewhere in between like a medium and a medium heavy.
Yeah.
Like a moderate fast. It's it's exactly what I've been wanting, and I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome, man. That's a good length too. I mean, that's that perfect medium. Not too long, not too short.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool.
Well, man, you also just recently took over Angler of the Year. You got some hounds on your tail. So good luck at the next one, keeping that up, man. I know you'll do well. But dude, any closing thoughts? You want to thank your sponsors? Anybody want to give a shout out to anything like that?
Yeah. I'd like to thank my sponsors. IRA, we just talked about them a little bit. Dakota Lithium, they've been great to me. They're powering up my truck and my power inverter, and I said I'm pretty much living out of my truck, and I couldn't do that, what I'm doing without their help. Catch Outdoors and Torpedo as well. Like I said, I've been running my Torpedo in this last tournament. Just got the 1103, and it's just ultra quiet, ultra fast, and it's been really, really cool using that. So
Sweet.
yeah,
What's
I'd like
that
to thank you
battery
guys for having me on,
Sorry, I was going to ask you, what size battery do you run with your 1103?
It's the bigger one of the two.
Okay, but it's it's Torpedoes. You don't use an external, or
You can't. You have to. I believe you have to use a Torpedo battery for
okay.
Torpedoes. They have two different sizes. I was running the 403, which I still have the 403 as well. And I was using the small battery, and it was still getting me by. I had to conserve it a lot of times, and kind of keep it under 3.5 miles an hour if I'm gonna make long runs and stuff. But I still have that. But like I said, just got the 1103, which has a bigger battery, which I can still use for my 403 too now, which is nice. I've been needing one of those bigger batteries for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I'd really like to thank you guys for having me on. I had a good time with great questions.
Yeah, man, we'll have to have you back on.
We appreciate you jumping on tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, we had a great time, man. We'll have to catch up with you again next time.
Cool.
Man, good luck out there.
All
right, buddy.
Take care.
Thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
See you guys. Bye.
All right.
How do you?
I think it should just roll out. All right, guys. We're going to do, our lights are off here, so we're going to wrap this up. But before we do, we're going to do our giveaway. We're going to do a random drawer. We got the, using, let's see, commentpicker.com. So it's just going to pick a random comment from somebody from that post, and that will be our winner. That way, David didn't pick his best friend.
Yeah.
I ain't picking nobody.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see.
Who's it gonna pick?
All right, we're working.
I'm anxious to see how this thing works.
Yeah.
All right, here goes.
Now you got it.
You finally figured out how to run it.
Mike Cheatham.
Mike Cheatham,
All
my
right,
buddy from the Clarksville
Oh,
area.
Congratulations, Mike. We'll get in touch with you, and we'll work out Matter of fact, you just need to come fish Pickwick with us.
That's right.
And we'll deliver
And then
to
they
you
can
there.
deliver it to you there. That makes a
You
good
come to
sense.
Pickwick, I'll bring it. How about that?
Yeah. But if not, we'll get with you and work out how to get it to you, man. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I thought it was a good show. Russ did a great job as usual. And anything else that he seems to do, he does a great job. So we want to thank him once again for being on.
Yeah, I saw Matt's over here taking notes.
I'm taking notes.
Brad, yeah. Big thanks to Russ for coming on, man. We really appreciate that. But that's gonna wrap it up for us here, guys, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.